So to render, you want to go to a 3D view. And in a 3D view, that's when you can find this dialog box, show rendering dialog. So you won't find this in the 2D views. So you can find this in a 3D view. Okay. So you have your frame. Okay. You can say render this to a region if you want to do a test render. Normally you'll start with a draft setting. You want to do the high or best resolution when you're doing your final render. You want to render to the screen. Initially, if you want to print it directly to a printer, you may do so. So that will be your resolution. Currently it's set at 96 dots per inch. You can always change that here, or change the value. So we'll render to screen so we can place it into our project, into a sheet, and then that's where we're going to print. So it's better to do it this way. So output to screen. This is the width and height based on the frame size. So if you move this, notice that the width is changing. Right? So this is how you control the width size. Okay. And of course the height. So maybe bring this lower. Okay, so you'll see the width and the height changing as you change the size of your frame. For now, for the lighting, we're using the sun only. So this is a daylight scene. You can always control the sun by changing the sun position. Click here, sun setting. Okay, for a still. Okay. So what time of day would you like to do that render? And normally you'd like to set the location so that you'll get the proper sun direction. Okay, so you set that there if you haven't set it yet in your location. Okay, apply, click OK. You can turn on the sun path, and you can also check the sun setting right here. Okay, and if you want to turn the shadow on so that you'll know where will the sun or shadow cast in your scene. Okay, so right now it looks like it's casting the shadow in front or going to this direction. If you want to make it go to the right, then you change your time of day. Okay, so maybe you want this to be okay. So sometimes it helps to make your shadow point. So if it's not the branch, maybe the shadow can point towards your building. And notice you don't have a sight, so the shadow is casting down to the footing. So maybe you want to only cast to the finished ground floor. Okay. So you can change the level where the ground plane will be at. Okay. So normally you'll say finished ground floor or site. If you have a site level, so it's always nice maybe to create a site level. If you have maybe a step up from the site to your building. So ground level, apply, click OK. So that's nice. The shadow is pointing towards the building. And hopefully you've covered the horizon by adding more trees. And then you do a draft render. Now, The higher the resolution, the longer the rendering. So that's why you normally would like to use a draft render. And once you get that draft render, you can further adjust the settings. So right now, I wasn't able to replace this with the sky. It's looking for an image, so there's no image. But I can actually use this and maybe remove that black object in Photoshop. But I don't see the shadow. So let me change this to a sky which is very cloudy and re-render. So notice how if you do not have your site here, you'll have this blank plane, and you do have your sky. So that's why you'd like to cover this with maybe a background object. So next thing we're going to do is maybe place, instead of the Revit render, we'll look for a background object and place it into our scene.